They laughed when the homeless boy asked, "Can I play for food?" But no one expected what came next. He stepped onto a cracked concrete platform of the old subway station, just as the first sliver of dawn crept through the rusted grates. In the dim glow of a single dangling bulb, a battered grand piano waited like a forgotten promise. His coat was worn thin, his boots scuffed from miles of aimless wandering, but his fingers hovered above the keys with the quiet certainty of someone who had once moved concert halls. The backpack slung over his shoulder carried only a tattered scarf, an old notebook, and the weight of every derisive glance he had endured. A trickle of early commuters, nurses heading to pre-dawn shifts, a coffee cart vendor wheeling her cart, one corporate suit running late. Pause at the edge of the makeshift stage. They saw ragged clothes and dusty hair, a boy who clearly did not belong. Curiosity danced in their eyes, edged with impatience. Someone muttered, "He's blocking the way." Another hissed, "What is this? Some street freak's audition?" Even the street musician perched on a nearby crate gave a dismissive nod, as if to say, "Go on, prove me wrong." He set his backpack at the piano's base, closed his eyes for a heartbeat, and breathed. The air smelled of damp concrete and stale transit, but in that moment it felt holy. He had asked for only a meal, just a plate of warm food in exchange for a single song. The absurdity of the request hung in the chill air, drawing snorts of laughter from a trio of suited professionals. Yet beneath that laughter was a taut thread of tension, as though the world instinctively knew something extraordinary was about to unfold. His callous fingertips settled on middle C. The first note resonated like a struck bell, pure and unguarded, echoing down the tunnel's length. Heads tilted. The coffee cart vendor froze mid-pour. Even the tick of a distant clock seemed to still. He held the key for 4 full counts, letting the vibration ripple through cold stone and sleepy bones. The laughter stopped. Whispers died. A hush descended, so complete it felt like breathing underwater. Then slowly he wove an arpeggio across the octaves, soft at first, like a question off in the dark, then gradually swelling into a gentle tide. Each note glimmered, crystalline in its precision. Passers-by exchanged startled glances. They had come expecting awkward stumbling, clumsy hammering on ivory. Instead, they heard a tender dance of sound that spoke of longing, of nights spent under flickering streetlights practicing scales by memory. By the time the final note of the phrase quivered to silence, stunned admiration had replaced scorn in every eye. A man in a tailored coat stepped forward, arms crossed. "Bet he's never even touched a real piano," he scoffed, voice pitched low enough that others might not hear. But his lips twitched, betraying the awe he tried to hide. The boy opened his eyes, meeting that man's gaze without anger, only a subtle, unspoken challenge. In response, he lifted his hands again and summoned a new melody, this one stitched from ancient folk tunes he'd heard long ago in his grandmother's tiny living room. Minor chords tangled with hopeful intervals, weaving sorrow and defiance into a single thread. As the tune unfolded, the surrounding world blurred. The drip of leaking pipes, the distant rumble of arriving trains, even the hum of that lone bulb overhead faded into the background. A commuter pressed her palm to her chest, tears springing unbidden. The street musician nodded slowly, eyes shining with something like wonder. Phones came out, but no one dared break the spell by snapping a photo. They simply watched breathless as the homeless boy transformed a grimy station into his cathedral. By the time he reached the melody's soaring bridge, his technique revealed flashes of virtuosity that went beyond mere competence. His left hand carved rich harmonies. His right hand raced through intricate runs that left onlookers blinking in disbelief. A journalist in a leather jacket leaned in, fingers flying over his phone to capture every moment. He'd planned a viral mockery, but now typed incredible and unexpected instead of spectacle and failure. Under that fragile dome of music, the boundaries between privilege and poverty, cynicism and faith, dissolved. When the final chord died, the platform hung in a hush so complete it felt sacramental. Then a lone clap echoed off the tiled walls, soft, deliberate. The street musician rose on shaky legs and added his applause. Others joined, until the gentle tapping of hands grew into a full, reverent ovation. No cheers, no whistles, just a humble recognition of something beautiful unearthed. He slid from the bench as quietly as he'd come, shrugging into his coat. The crowd parted, leaving a path for him to exit, like an honored guest at a royal ball. Commuters whispered of miracles. The journalist fumbled for words. Unreal, he muttered. Best 30 seconds of my life. The suited mocker stood, transfixed, still clinging to his briefcase as if it anchored him to a world newly unsteady. Outside, the sky had blushed pink with sunrise. He climbed the stairs, his silhouette framed against the golden city. For a moment, he paused at the top, glanced back at the hollow beneath, and offered the faintest nod, an unspoken thank you to those who had listened. Then he disappeared into the morning tide of faces, leaving behind a trembling sense of wonder and a single, simple lesson. Talent doesn't live in zip codes or wardrobes, and dignity can't be measured by circumstance. He walked out of the station into the orange glow of a street lamp, shoes clicking on uneven pavement as the city awakened. He felt a warmth in his chest despite the chill, a quiet triumph that perched just beneath his ribs. Memories of dismissive laughter and the hush that followed rolled through his mind as he made his way to a small diner on the corner, its neon sign buzzing like a heartbeat. Pushing open the door, he was greeted by the scent of frying bacon and fresh coffee. The diner was half full, early risers nursing cups and reading crumpled newspapers. He approached the counter, lowered his head, and whispered, "Can I have that breakfast you promised?" The waitress paused, eyes softening. The waitress nodded, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "Right away," she said, her voice gentle like sunrise. She waved at the cook, who slid a golden plate of eggs, toast, and hash browns onto the counter before him. He sat on a stool, hands trembling slightly as he stared at the bounty. He hadn't eaten like this in weeks. The first bite was pure warmth, the crunch of toast and richness of butter melting like hope on his tongue. Patrons paused, noticing the stranger's relief. A man in a knit cap smiled and murmured, "Looks like you earned that." Conversation hummed beneath clinking dishes. He swallowed hard, tipping his head in thanks. And when he looked up, the diner felt like the center of a suddenly kinder world. Outside, an indistinct murmur rippled through the sidewalk. By now the video from the subway had gone live online. Passers-by paused with phones in hand, watching viral comments blossom with disbelief and praise. A delivery man tipped his cap and whispered, "That kid's a genius." Inside, the waiter announced, "Your breakfast is on the house." The diner's owner, a stout woman with kind eyes, had seen the footage herself. She approached the counter and slid a coffee mug toward him. "Keep the change, friend," she said. "We need more music in this city." He shook his head, voice catching, "Thank you." The world outside felt different now. Small acts of kindness, amplified by a single song, were beginning to ripple through streets he once thought indifferent. He tucked the bill under his plate and rose to leave, heart lighter. He stepped back into the morning bustle, cradling a warm mug, when a sleek car coasted to a stop. A man in a sharp suit emerged, smartphone pressed his ear. He ended his call and approached with brisk confidence. "I hope I'm not intruding," he said, offering his hand. The sun glinted off his polished watch. "I'm Marcus Lennox, talent manager. I saw your performance online. Extraordinary." The boy blinked, surprise flickering. "Are you serious?" "Absolutely," Marcus replied. "I represent venues and artists worldwide. I'd like to discuss a showcase opportunity." A flutter of doubt trembled in the boy's chest. Scams were easy to find, yet the man's unwavering eye contact and respectful tone felt genuine. "Where?" the boy asked. "This evening, at an arts festival downtown. Be ready at 7. Marcus handed him a card before returning to his car. He stood on the curb, phone already back in hand, heartbeat racing. That afternoon, he arrived at the warehouse turnstage, heart thumping in his ears. The festival was alive with banners and laughter, street dancers spinning to hip-hop beats nearby. Inside the main hall, a polished grand piano gleamed under stage lights. Backstage, he changed into a borrowed blazer, its sleeves too long, but its fabric smelled of possibility. Marcus met him with a nod. "They'll call you in 5 minutes." He paced, mind racing with memories of empty plates and mocking eyes. When his name echoed over the PA, he walked on as though every second had prepared him. He caught the crowd's gaze, some curious, some skeptical, and sat before the keys. The tuner struck A440. He inhaled, recalling every note from memory, ready to play not for food, but for destiny. He began with a simple opening phrase, clear as morning dew, but laced with depth that startled spectators. Hands moved with grace, coaxing harmony and tension in perfect tandem. As he transitioned into the central theme, a hush enveloped the hall like velvet. Judges leaned forward, eyebrows knitting in awe. His fingers flew across scales, weaving a tapestry of sound that felt at once classical and vividly alive. With each phrase, he probed the boundaries between technical mastery and heartfelt expression. When the final chord settled, a moment of pure stillness hung before thunderous applause erupted. Marcus smiled broadly, pride shining in his eyes, as the boy rose and bowed, ushering in a new chapter beyond anything he had ever imagined. After the festival, offers arrived like autumn leaves on a windy afternoon. Invitations to perform at conservatories, scholarships for summer programs, and a recording session awaited him. But he remembered the subway station's damp chill, the diner's soft light, and the faces guided by kindness. He chose a foundation that supported underprivileged musicians, pledging to return after his career blossomed. His first recital would benefit those still waiting in the wings. Marcus watched him finalize plans with serene determination, realizing this boy's true gift was not only his hands, but his heart. As night fell and streetlights flickered, he promised to carry that blend of humility and brilliance wherever he went. The next morning, a headline crowned the newspaper. Subway Prodigy serenades city, reminds us of our shared humanity. Readers found themselves pondering their own judgments and overlooked stories. In coffee shops, people hummed a melody. Online forums buzzed with hope. And somewhere between glass skyscrapers and guttered alleys, a boy who once asked simply for food found a feast of opportunity and respect. His journey reminded everyone that music and kindness transcend circumstance. And if one song could bridge worlds, who could say what symphonies lay dormant in unexpected places, waiting for curious hearts to listen? Truly,